the position of her Vietnamese adopted son in Angelina Jolie's life has changed after more than 10 years. But what's more remarkable is that a mother who gave birth to Pax Thien did not raise him. This story is truly dramatic and surprising. More than a decade ago, when Angelina Jolie adopted Pax Thien from Vietnam, the world witnessed a model of love and kindness. Angelina has not only become a famous star, but she is also a devoted mother. She raised Pax Thien as her own child, giving him a warm family and a close relationship that was not inferior to any other child. 2023 is a busy year for Angelina Jolie. Not only is she preparing to launch her own fashion brand, but she is also focusing her efforts on film projects. Recently, Jolie was in France to film the movie Maria. Accompanying her during filming were her two adopted sons Maddox and Pax Thien. Images recorded at the filming set show that Pax not only escorted but also acted as an assistant, taking behind-the-scenes photos for her mother. It can be seen that this 19-year-old guy maintains a serious and enthusiastic attitude like a professional employee. Some netizens have dug up photos from more than 10 years ago of Angelina Jolie and Pax Thien to compare with the present. At that time, her adopted son of Vietnamese origin visited Angelina on the set. The boy was held and cuddled in a warm embrace by his mother. A decade has passed, now Pax Thien has become a confident and active guy. He shows bravery and responsibility towards his adoptive mother as well as the work he undertakes. Pax Thien was officially adopted by Angelina Jolie in 2007 in Vietnam. When he first came to America, he was very shy. However, thanks to Angelina's care and education, Pax has developed well physically and mentally. Previously, a source revealed that Pax Thien wanted to develop his own path, so he chose to be an artist in the art game field. So far, Angelina Jolie has not yet confirmed the above information. The contrast between Pax Thien's two mothers, one Angelina Jolie and the other the mother who gave birth to him, who sent her son to a new life in Hollywood, creates a story full of emotions and morality. Angelina Jolie, a top movie star and famous philanthropist, is Pax Thien's second mother. She has raised the boy since 2007, when Pax Thien was just 3 years old. Angelina's choice is not only an act of humanity, but also a true love for Pax Thien. She created a truly warm and family environment for the boy, helping him adapt to his new life in America. Meanwhile, the mother who gave birth to Pax Thien did not participate in his life after sending her son to America. Not only was she unable to contribute financially, but she also had no meetings with Pax Thien in the past decade. This creates a stark contrast between the two mothers and how they treat Pax Thien. This story is truly climactic and reveals the disparity between the love and responsibility of Pax Thien's adoptive mother and birth mother. An amazing contrast, which in the video's conclusion we will discover more about Pax Thien's magical journey and special relationship with Angelina Jolie. Don't miss this exciting part. Let's learn about the mysterious past of Pax Thien's mother, an indispensable part of this story. Pax Thien's biological mother cannot be ignored when going into this story that she had a past full of contradictions and confusion. She was the one who gave birth and created a special opportunity for Pax Thien to a new life in Hollywood, but after that, all contact between them became sparse. Before Pax Thien became a member of the jolie-pitt family, his mother had to face many difficulties and regulations. Partly that is because of the difficult circumstances in Vietnam, where she lives. In fact, Pax Thien's biological mother's past is still a big mystery, and people are learning more about this story. Fateful night at 9 p.m. on November 29, 2004, Tu Du Hospital received a pregnant woman with signs of giving birth. The pregnant woman was urgently transferred to the obstetrics department, and half an hour later, despite being premature, a 2.1 kilograms boy was born. That pregnant woman's name is Pham Tu Dung. The baby was named Quang Sang, taking his mother's last name. After giving birth, Dung decided not to look at the baby's face, which was fateful in the future lives of Pham Quang Sang or Pax Thien jolie-pitt. Because just 2 days later, Dung escaped from the hospital, and at that time still owed 480,000 Vietnamese dongs in hospital fees because he had no money. The name Pham Quang Sang came from a sudden thought of Pax Thien's biological mother, related to the short story The Ivory Comb by writer Nguyen Quang Sang that Dung read with great emotion when he was a child. A few days after his birth, Pham Quang Sang was taken to Tam Bin Orphanage. Before 9 p.m., Pham Tu Dung was still using drugs. She had severe abdominal pain but did not think she would give birth. To ease the pain, Dung asked her close friend to give her another dose of opium, but the pain still did not subside and she decided to go to the hospital. Pham Tu Dung's life before and after the Pham Quang Sang case was related to a cruel topic, drugs. A fallen life, Dung still remembers the days of partying at some famous nightclubs in Saigon nearly 20 years ago. When I was 18 years old, 1995, when I went to my Man or Tai Son dance hall, almost everyone knew Dung and was extremely disruptive. Dance halls all night long, alcohol, white goods, daily fights, fighting gangsters. Whenever you enter the dance floor and see someone looking shocked, Dung will immediately attack you without thinking. She beat her so much that when the security guard saw her face, he had to beg, "Please don't do any more tricks tonight." Her comrades in arms are also full of blood, people from District 4. Dung is famous for fighting to make money, meaning that after the fight, the next day, he forces the victim to go to a coffee shop on La Ton Ton Street to punish him. The whole group of young players, about 20 or so, did not go home, spent money to rent a house on La Van Sai Street, gathered there during the day, and at night each went their own direction. Some go to work at discos, some go out, and almost all of them are white. Many of Dung's friends died from drug overdose, some died from HIV. At the age of 19, she started to indulge in drugs and became addicted. Dung said, at that time, her friends kept giving them to her but she refused, and then they kept giving them, saying, "Try it and your life will be different. In the end my life will be really different." At that age, too, Dung was also quite impulsive. If anyone encouraged her, she would do it right away. Back then, Dung's family was relatively affluent, thanks to her father, who was a ship captain in the Merchant Marine. However, Dung was quite a handful, and money seemed to slip through her fingers. In order to get her hands on money, as her parents had decided on a financial embargo at the time, Dung pawned her bike and sent the money back home to get it back. Dung recalls a time when her mother was away on a business trip, and she couldn't find the key to a cabinet. She asked her aunt to go to the market to find her mother and get the key. Dung found her mother, took the key, but before returning it, she made a detour into a shop that made keys and had an extra one made for herself. This way, she could easily access money in the future, either by taking it or by selling gold. There were also times when she borrowed money, and when she couldn't repay it, the creditors would come to their home, and her mother had to pay them back, eventually becoming a routine. Looking back, it seems that she might have squandered a significant portion of her parents' wealth. Later, when her parents' financial situation became strained, her family truly faced hardships. Pham Tu Dung at that time was vastly different from the Pham Tu Dung of her younger years. She was the most pampered child in the family. During her early years, she excelled in her studies, attending O Duong Lan Elementary School, in District 8, for grades 1 and 2, and then La Kai Don High School for grade 3. In her final year of high school, she achieved over 38 points in 4 subjects. For 9 consecutive years, Dung consistently stood out as an excellent student. In her 10th grade year, she even received a Honda Astrea motorcycle as a gift from her father after a minor biking accident, a luxury that only the well-off could afford. It is perhaps this privilege that led her astray at an early age. Dung's downward spiral began in her 11th grade year. During this time, her father was often away on business, leaving only her mother at home. Dung would frequently lie to her mother, pretending to be attending school, when, in reality, she was out partying at various nightclubs. She would hop from one club to another and invariably return home by 10:30 p.m. Some people noticed her late-night outings and reported it to her family, but her household refused to believe it. And so, after graduating high school, Dung's life took a tumultuous turn. Dung still vividly remembers the day, March 25, 1998, when her mother took her to the Bin Tru Rehabilitation Center for drug addiction treatment. At that time, Dung was 21 years old, and her father only learned the harsh truth. In the evening, he sat on a chair in the living room and wept. Later, he went to the family altar to light incense for his deceased father, and again, he stood there shedding tears. It was at this moment that Dung made a heartfelt promise to herself, saying to her father, "Dad, take me for treatment. I can't live like this anymore." But, after 3 months of rehab, she relapsed, and the cycle repeated itself. Dung can't even recall how many times she attempted rehab or how many times she relapsed. Now, as she reflects on her life, she admits that her life lacked a sense of purpose due to her own actions, and she had single-handedly destroyed her own future. Dung speaks with admiration for her father. It was he who had provided guidance to her and her siblings, but she was the one who went astray. She believes that if she had stayed on the right path, her life would have turned out differently. Additionally, if her first love had not ended in heartbreak, her fate might have been altered as well. The shattered first love pushed the young woman into a vengeful mindset, driving her to nightclubs and substance abuse as a means to escape her pain. Men entered her life purely for monetary gains, without any regard for love or genuine affection. Later, when she met Kwang Sang's biological father, it was also, in part, about money. At that time, Dung was working as a garment worker at a company in Lai Thu, Bin Duong. The man in question was her team leader, married with a family of his own. There appeared to be some conflicts between the two, so in 2004, Dung decided to part ways and quit her job. Little did she know, she was already pregnant at the time. Her pregnancy progressed without the child's father being aware, and Dung chose to keep it to herself. She even contemplated having an abortion, but her compassion for the innocent child prevailed, and she decided to keep the baby. While she had managed to overcome her drug addiction at this point, upon discovering her pregnancy, Dung's life felt stagnant, lacking love, and without employment. Her situation led her to relapse. As the baby grew inside her, she didn't think about seeking prenatal care. Instead, she focused on getting money to support her addiction. At that time, I was a completely different person, irresponsible to myself and my child, and nothing can justify my actions, Dung recalls with remorse. After that fateful night, Dung's friend informed her older sister, and 2 days later, the two sisters escaped from the hospital. Dung reflects on her decision. I couldn't raise the child like that. I thought even if I did, there wouldn't be much of a future for it. It might have a better future this way. When I filled out the birth certificate, I used my real name and our real address because if I changed it, no one would ever know. Now looking back, I think there was something urging me to tell the truth at that moment, to do something sincere, no matter how small, for my child. I couldn't think straight back then. I just wanted to leave the baby at the hospital and not think about it. But deep down, I was in a lot of pain. At the time, Dung's family was extremely impoverished, and they had moved from District 8 to 2 Duck. They took Dung back home, but no one knew she had just given birth. Her sister simply explained that Dung had a fever and needed to rest in her room. Her father was in the dark as well, as Dung explains. He's been through a lot. If he knew this truth, he'd be in shock. It was only later, when someone from the Tam Bin Center came to their house looking for Dung, that her father found out the truth. At the time when the foreign journalist team arrived at Dung's home in 2007, subsequently publishing an article about her intention to reclaim her child in the news of the world, Dung was bedridden and unaware of their visit. To be honest, she wasn't particularly concerned. Dung recalls an earlier incident on the 28th of Tet, Lunar New Year, in 2006 when Uncle Hao, deputy director of the Tam Bin Center, accompanied by someone from the Women's Union and local police, visited our home and talked to my father. I was in the room at the time. They asked my father to sign some documents regarding my child, Pham Quang Sang. I later asked why my father had to sign those documents rather than having the center handle it, and he said that a foreign family had agreed to adopt Sang, and they requested all the necessary paperwork. At that time, my father was overjoyed to hear that a foreign family was going to adopt Sang, and I felt the same way. During this time, Dung felt that she needed to make a change. In the middle of 2007, she made a determined effort to overcome her addiction. She went through the withdrawal process on her own, staying in her rented room. When the cravings became unbearable, she would take medication, and when she felt low, she would go to the sea for a swim. She made a promise to herself that she needed to live differently, to live in such a way that, if one day my child comes looking for me, I will stand tall instead of bowing my head in shame. It wasn't until 2009 that Pham Tu Dung learned about Pax Thien, after her grandmother passed away. She returned to Saigon and was informed by her older brother. I went home and asked, and eventually, my parents told me everything. However, at that time, there were many articles that inaccurately portrayed me, claiming that I was demanding this and that, and I was quite upset when I read them. When asked if she would have demanded money or caused a scene if she had known about Angelina Jolie's adoption of Pax Thien at the right time, Dung responded, "Doing that would be no different from selling my own child for the second time. It would be incredibly heartless. I never had the idea of meeting Jolie to ask for a certain amount of money to rebuild my life. I only hope that Sang is happy and has a good life, better than being with me, that's all." Dung believes that her life, as it has unfolded, is a kind of compensation. My unhappy life was my own doing, and I wanted to break free from that vicious cycle but couldn't. In the end, perhaps it's a form of karma. My child deserves to be happier than me. If I had met Jolie, I probably wouldn't know what to say, but deep down, I believe she's a remarkable woman, and I'm grateful for everything she's done. I've read many articles suggesting that Jolie adopted a child for fame, but I believe it's not the case. She adopted out of the goodness of her heart. I understand that and greatly respect Jolie for it. I am a mother who failed in her responsibilities.